Hello, dobar dan. I'm Andreea Tănăsescu, the founder of Give Back Credit project, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this workshop, scientific workshop, Communication, Innovation and Creative Industries. First, I would like to introduce you, our panelists today, and express my gratitude for being part of our project. I'm starting with the cultural heritage domain with Mrs. Elena Sekulovic. She is a senior curator and longtime curator for the City Costume Collection, which comprises over 2,000 items. She is also the author of the current exhibition on ethnographic items by Nadezhda Petrovic titled Heritage, display on the exhibition hall on the ground floor of the Ethnographic Museum, which is our host today. She is a member of the International Committee for Museum and Collections of Costume, ICOM, and one of the initiators and founders of an expert group for costume, the National Committee of ICOM. In her research, she focused on the construction of Serbian civilian costume from 19th century. Thank you very much. I'm going now to the visual communication department of our panel. So I'm starting with Mr. Slavimir Stojanovic. He is a Belgrade-based designer, visual artist, writer, and professor. He is the founder of the Futuro Design Studio for Creative Communication, the Futuro Lifestyle brand, and the Futuro Masterclass educational program. Futuro is a lifestyle brand rooted in the phenomenon of mass communication, with error as a spark of life in the perfect modern world. His projects have received numerous awards worldwide and can be found in world museums, encyclopedias, and magazines. He is the author of the autobiographical novel Devet and a series of children illustration books called Avantur Sinilube. He has been awarded with IUAP's Lifetime Achievement Award, and he is visiting professor of the School of Visual Arts in New York. We are going now to the film side of our panelists with Mr. Miško Nenak. He is a highly accomplished video director with a career spanning more than 25 years in the marketing and advertising industry. Born with a passion for storytelling and a eye for aesthetics. Miško's journey in the world film has begun with his graduation from the prestigious Film Academy in Belgrade, where he honored his skills and nurtured his creative vision. His impressive portfolio boasts a diverse range of film commercials for new brands such as Chanel, Dior, Coca-Cola, Moët Chandon, Peugeot, Evian, Gucci, Lindt, Carlsberg, and so on. His work is characterized by its creativity, visual appeal, and the ability to tell compelling stories that resonate with audiences worldwide. Currently, Miško divides his time between two vibrant cities, Belgrade and Paris. He founded Opium, which is a communication and visual production company. Now we are moving to the digital and communication and IT side of the panel with Mrs. Andelka Ducic. She is a full-stack digital marketing with over 15 years of expertise in this field and co-founder of Symbiotica, a digital agency that focuses on providing turnkey digital solutions to businesses worldwide through website and software development combined with an innovative marketing approach. Of course, the I is here because Jack Gordon Harris is part of our panel and is a seasoned IT consultant with over 13 years of expertise working on projects from startup to enterprise scale solutions for clients around the world. He is particularly focused on ethical issues with IT, as well as how future e-commerce networks can build in a decentralized, self-sustaining structure. He founded Cord Agency as a tight seasoned team of various IT specialists that work in harmony to execute usable and value-driven software solutions to a variety of different clients around the globe. And of course, such a discussion needs the perspective of the fashion business. So I welcome Nikos Christodoulias, originally hailing from Greece. He's a seasoned entrepreneur with a remarkable track record in the world of business and fashion. From a young age, his passion for commerce led him to embark on a journey that would ultimately shape his career and leave a lasting impact on the industry. Nikos' foray into the business world began at the tender age of 18, which he first dipped his toes into the intricacies of entrepreneurship. Over the years, he honed his skills and acquired extensive knowledge in various aspects of business, from merchandising to branding, steadily climbing the ladder of success. One of his notable achievements was owning the franchise for a new brands such as United Colors of Benetton and Sisley in his native Greece. This endeavor allowed him to gain valuable insight into the working of the fashion industry and the art of managing successful retail outlets. However, Nikos' entrepreneurial spirit didn't stop there. Together with his wife, Mariana Andrić, he ventured into the world of luxury handmade clothing, co-founding Maridruna. As a general director of the brand, he brought his wealth experience to the table, playing a pivotal role into driving Maridruna's international sales as wholesale operations. And last but not at least, Nenad Popadic, yes, sales director at Ivko women brand. Nenad Popadic is an experienced professional with a master's degree in economics from the Faculty of Economics at the University of Belgrade. His key qualification encompasses a wide range of skills and expertise, including financial management, human resource management, new product development, corporate governance, financial analysis, marketing and sales, as well negotiation and mediation skills. After working high-level position in the banking sector for multiple decades, as well as holding financial consulting roles in various fields, Nenad became the global director for sales of sales for Ivko Women, a globally renewed knitwear brand based in Serbia. His rich experience and expertise in these fields of economics and management have enabled him to achieve a remarkable success in various sectors. His current role as a global director of sales for Ivko Women further underscores his ability to lead and develop business projects on a global scale. And a little bit of myself. I'm the moderator of this workshop. My name is Andreea Diana Tănăsescu, and I'm the creator of La Blues Rumen movement and community, and the initiator of the Universal Day of the Romanian Blouse and Cultural Fashion Day, and the president of La Blues Romania Association, a non-governmental organization that promotes the preservation of the Romanian textile heritage and the development of cultural sustainable fashion worldwide. In 2013, I created the Universal Day of the Romanian Blouse to be celebrated on 24th of June on the midsummer. This campaign around the event has united for the first time Romanians around the world and admirers of the Romanian culture from more than 150 cities and 50 countries in the world. In 2015, this day was recognized officially by the mayor of Washington, D.C., through a proclamation issued at the request of the Romanian American community. In 2022, this day was recognized in Romania as National Day by the state, and it has contributed decisively to the inscription of the Romanian blouse on the UNESCO World Heritage List. In 2019, I coordinated the research for the first international fashion and design collection dedicated to Romania by the French perfume house of Fragonard. But in 2017, I started a new movement, which is called Give Credit, devoted to the promotion of culturally responsible design. I'm currently working as a coordinator of Give Back Credit to the Heritage Communities Cultural Cooperation Project, along with the development of the first cultural design center in Bucharest, Romania. So, we are starting our discussion with a little bit of context and with a small presentation of our project. Give Back Credit to the Heritage Communities was started, of course, with the movement that I created in 2017. So I would like you to present us the video, if it's possible, and have a little bit of visual start. So we started with this picture. These pictures were two major fashion brands, Dior and Tory Burch. They copied the Romanian traditional codes, and first time it was presented in Etnology Fest, and second, we applied for funding to the Creative European program, and now with together University for the Creative Arts from Scotland, we are dedicated to find the roadmap to the cultural fashion. But other countries have same issues as us, as Mexico, and for example, they started, to promote laws in the Mexican Parliament, and through the voice of Ministry of Culture in Mexico, they succeed in times of our project to bring in Mexico major fashion brands to work together with artisans. And the example is Dior Cruise collection from this year, because of course we started with pioneering this road also here at Belgrade 5 years ago. And one of the best examples of this panel is the brand Osklen from Brazil. They discovered a community our indigenous community in the Amazon, and they worked like 2 years with this community to have a collection. So our discussion today is around, are we afford to work 2 years as creative industries with the community to have a collection? Are we afford to, let's say, have to dilute our intangible cultural heritage? Where is the line between tradition and innovation, and how we can communicate better in order to spark innovation and preserve our heritage? So it's okay, we can stop the video. So I'm starting with the cultural heritage sector. What is your vision about this issue?
Pa, što se tiče kreativnih industrija i muzejskih zbirki, tu je neka specifična veza između jednog i drugoga. S jedne strane, mi se bavimo ovde nekom sakupljanjem i prezentacijom kulturnog nasleđa u njegovom autohtonom, izvornom obliku, onako kako je to postojalo među narodom.
Creative industry and museum collections have a special link. We gather and display cultural heritage in a certain way in order to show everything to the public, to the audience.
Ali te muzejske zbirke svakako mogu da budu platforma i osnova za neku nadogradnju, jer ti muzejski predmeti mogu da imaju i, da tako kažem, drugi život, odnosno da postanu inspiracija umetnicima da iznedre nešto novo.
Museum collection platforms can also serve for building up, and they can also provide a new life and inspiration for new artists so that they can create something new, something else.
To je nešto što zovemo konstrukcija i dekonstrukcija nekog materijalnog predmeta, i u kulturi odevanja ono postoje, gde bi dekonstrukcije bile, na primer, da jedan dizajner uzme neki element koji je sastavni deo bilo kakvog odevnog, na primer, modnog nekog predmeta i napravi nešto sasvim novo. To bi konstrukcije bile nešto što se bave odeljenje za konzervacijom i koji prave ili prave autentične predmete koji su replike, na primer, muzejskih.
what actually we can do is construct and deconstruct any material object. Deconstruction of an element means creating something out of it, creating something completely different, completely new, while the construction means making something authentic.
Mi nismo sad u ovom savremenom dobu prvi u tome što radimo, da tako kažem, izmišljamo ili domišljamo nešto. Ja sam danas htela možda malo i van ovog konteksta kreativnih industrija da se podsjetimo na jedan moment iz istorije našeg naroda, a ja sam ubeđena da ćete se i vi iz Rumunije prepoznati u svemu tome.
In contemporary world, we are not the first ones who invented something like that and who do something like that. I would therefore like to remind you of something that you will all recognize, and also people from Romania, namely you.
And from Greece as
and
well.
From Greece as well.
To je činjenica da su određeni odevni komadi bili izmišljeni ne samo za potrebe trgovine, nego i za potrebe jedne formiranja nacionalnog identiteta. To je slučaj sa srpskim građanskom nošnjom koju poznajemo. Sad ne znam da li neko može da pusti ove snimke, ja sam poslala materijal da bismo videli šta je u pitanju.
So the outfits were not invented only for the purposes, for commercial purposes, but also for the creation of national identity, namely the city costume. I've prepared also some recordings, some photos, and I don't know if we'll be able to see it now.
Jer u Srbiji početkom 19. veka je bilo potrebno da se izgradi neka nacionalna svest. I prvi moment izgradnje te nacionalne svesti je bilo kroz vizualnu kulturu, odnosno kroz određeni ustaljeni sistem odevanja. Da bi se razlikovala od pripadnika drugih naroda u okviru Otomanske imperije, u Srbiji kao i u Grčkoj je stvoren takozvani građanski kostim, koji je kasnije poneo i atribut srpski.
In Serbia, at the beginning of the 19th century, there was the beginning of that national consciousness, and through visual culture, namely the clothing, the idea was to differentiate the Serb from the Ottoman culture, which was the case also in Greece. So the city costume was created, which was later called the Serbian costume.
Ti modni obrasci u Srbiji su dobili veoma važnu ulogu u vizualnoj reprezentaciji i konstruisanju identiteta zajednice kroz neke oblike transformacije i se ogledao i čitav niz političkih izbivanja u našoj zemlji. Tako da, na primjeru građanske nošnje, mi vidimo koliko su, evo ovde je jedan primer srpske građanske nošnje, ovo je rad Uroša Kneževića, na njemu je ćerka Miloslava Resavca, ona na sebi ima autentičan kostim koji se sastoji iz libada, fistana, to je haljina koju vidite ispod, marame, bajadera, to je marama koja je oko struka vezana, tepeluka i bareša koje su na njenoj glavi.
Fashion patterns got an important role in visual interpretation while creating this national identity, because it also reflected the political life. What we can see here is the portrait of a daughter of Mr. Resavac, which is the work of Uroš Knežević. What we see here is a woman wearing the traditional city costume, and we see here the libad, fistan, which is the dress. We can see the scarf, the bayadera, which is around the belt, and barish.
Ovaj srpski građanski kostim je gotovo u ovoj kombinaciji identičan onome koje postoji u Grčkoj, koji se naziva Amelinim kostimom.
The city costume is identical to the one that existed also in Greece and which was called the Amelia costume.
I na ovom primjeru mi vidimo ovi delovi ove narodne nošnje, odnosno gradskog odevanja, nisu postojali u narodu tada i nisu bili u širokom upotrebi. Ovo je jedan konstrukt u odevanju, ali iz nekih integrativnih razloga. Odnosno, bilo je potrebno stvoriti naciju i prvo što su radili je stvoriti nešto po čemu će se ta nacija prepoznavati i razlikovati od drugoga.
This example showing city costume did not actually exist. It was created purposefully for the construction, for the creation of national identity for political purposes. It did not exist among the common ordinary people.
Tako da imamo lep primjer iz 19. veka gde je takođe nešto bilo konstrukt, a ne nešto što je narod iznedrio.
Also, we have a nice example from the 19th century, which is also a construct and not a people's creation.
Kao, na primjer, narodne nošnje koje nas ovde okružuju.
For instance, traditional costumes that surround us here.
I koji su direktno protekle od naroda.
And that directly emanated from the people.
Eto, to bi ukratko bilo jedno malo podsjećanje na konstrukcije modnih obrazaca i na nešto što ne dolazi spontano, već je rezultat nekih, eto, u Srbiji 19. veka upravo iz političkih razloga.
So that would be an explanation of constructs that did not emanate directly from the people, but were explained by the political needs of our people at the time.
Thank you very much. So we have like two sides of the cultural heritage that emanate from people, the traditional ones, and this new construction from the 19th century, the end of the 19th century, beginning of 20th century, as in Romania. But now we are in a different world. We are free to construct our identity as we wish. We are in the era of Web 2.0, of artificial intelligence. So what is our goal in this time? Do we need to construct our national identity or a cultural identity, and how we can do this? And I'm going to ask the visual creatives on our panel to respond to this question. Yes, please.
Yeah, here we have the big issue with the national identity, definitely, and it's all about the truth. It's the thing that's truthful to one region. It's not so truthful to the other. And what we need to focus on is to develop the main goal of the whole so-called project of the national identity. So, for example, in our flag we have monarchy symbols and we are republic. So it's at least to say ridiculous. So if we go from that point, it's very, very difficult to be truthful then. And from the point of heritage and the decorative side and the ethnographic side and stuff like that, it's very important then again who is our audience, who are we going to talk to about it, or through fashion are we going to speak to the Western world, to the Eastern world? It always differs, it's different. We have a strong sense of humor here, and it's embedded in our culture because this is the discontinuity game here, and that's why we developed the sense of humor more than any other else in this part of Europe, because we needed to survive spiritually. And also this decorative side of our lives is also embedded, and it's the same thing, but we never use it as a part of spirit or humor, but we always use it as an aesthetic side. So I hope the day will come when we will start joining these things, aesthetics and the cerebral part of creativity. And I think that's the future for us here, for our identity, you know, the cerebral and intuitive thing. The heritage is part of intuition also. So that's what I'm struggling with, especially when it comes to the Western countries, which are more developed in a sense of aesthetics. So for them, humor is the lower level of communication. Really, that's from my direct experience in all the areas of creative work that I do. It's, they just gone past that. But that's why then they steal the identities of other undeveloped countries in a way, especially financially, and put that in their collections shamelessly. So that's, you know, that's always the game, you know, whether it's, are we important for ourselves here with our humor and that we only can understand in a special way, or are we going to sell that to somebody else who also wants it? So that's the big game of trying to make an identity.
Yes, who will you sell first? To the Serbian people or to the Western world? This new identity, for example.
I think that the whole former Yugoslavia has a great potential. And I am part of that culture of the former Yugoslavia. Of course, Serbia has a very, very significant role. I'm from Belgrade, I'm Serbian. But also I think that collectively it's more strong than individually. So I would rather speak directly to Serbian people, first of all, to tell them that we live in republic, not in monarchy. And stuff like that, you know, on the basics of things. We live in a very schizophrenic age here. So it's very hard to sell anything unless you have the strong support of the government, of the state.
So in terms of creating this, let's say, system of communication for cultural heritage, we do need the support of the state, because the state has to create the infrastructure for communities to develop and to preserve their, you know, culture and heritage and identity. So how can we combine the support of the state with the awareness of the local communities? And Mishko, you have done an amazing job with the movie about Sirogojno. So are we able to inspire communities to be active, more proactive in this construction? Yes, because one of my goal in this research of give back credit to the heritage communities is the role of the heritage communities, not only of the state.
Ovako, počet ću, da. Ja sam pre jedno 20 godina na jednom festivalu video jedan vrlo interesantan kratkometražni film. Može ovako kraći? Da.
20 years ago at a film festival, I saw a film.
Very interesting film.
A very interesting film.
About this, yeah. U tom filmu imamo nekoliko ljudi koji sede za stolom, pričaju, večeraju i odjednom se čuje neka muzika sa strane i sad oni kreću debatu otprilike oko toga čija je to muzika, pošto svako misli, svi su različitih nacionalnosti i svi misle da je muzika u stvari njihova. Znači ima jednog Rumuna, jednog Bugara, jednog Srbina, jednog Makedonca i oni kreću da se ubeđuju da je u stvari ta pesma njihova, kako bih rekao.
So there were several people dining at a table, and all of a sudden the music can be heard. And all these people start arguing whose music that song actually is, because at the table there were people from Romania, from different nationalities, and they all thought and they all said that it was their song.
Evo, šta je tu interesantno? Interesantno je da prvo ustanovimo, pošto znamo, zakon o autorskim pravima je vrlo jasan. Znači, mi imamo posle 70 godina, ajde da nazovemo to uslovno autorom koji neko nešto napravio, je li tako, kreirao, njegov rad postaje domen publički, mislim, može bilo ko da koristi eksploataciju toga bez ikakve ekonomske nadoknade.
So first of all, we need to establish what is the author. We've had the copyright law, and for instance, someone can be called an author for 17 years, but after 70 years, this work becomes work of public good.
Zato mislim da je vrlo bitno, treba prvo ustanoviti šta i kako mi branimo, je li tako? Znači treba prvo, evo da kažemo, na primjer, videli smo ovde da je Dior koristio motiv, klasičan motiv narodne radenosti, tako da kažemo. Ja verujem negde da je možda Dior i hteo nekom nešto da plati, ali nije znao tačno kome i šta. Ne znam da li vidite da počinje problem.
So first of all, it is important to establish what we defend and how. We've seen right now Dior using a pattern of traditional craft. Dior might have even wanted to pay some author's rights, some copyrights to someone, but probably did not know whom to pay and for what exactly.
Exactly, that's a very big issue.
Zato mislim da je vrlo bitno da prvo prođemo svi kroz svoje, kažem, kroz eritaž, kroz naše nasleđe kulturalno i da definišemo šta je tačno naše i da ga zaštitimo na neki novi način, tako da bi neko ko želi to da eksploatiše mogao da dođe do toga da se tačno zna, mora da se zavede jednostavno, jer tu postoji već problem ko je u stvari, odakle stvarno počinje neki rad ili bilo šta. Znači, to je najbitnije da se definiše, da bi moglo, posle toga da bi zemlja od koje to potiče mogla da napravi, jednostavno da zaštiti te stvari i da ih jednostavno moguće posle eksploatisati na bilo koji način, zaštititi ih jednostavno.
I think that what we must do is first go through our heritage and define what's ours and then protect it. Someone who would like to exploit whatever element should be aware of the fact who to refer to, and we should have some sort of classification and then know what to protect and how exactly.
Sad, kako mi filmski radnici možemo da pomognemo u tome je da napravimo filmove koji će biti inspirisani i potkrepljeni pravim podacima, znači dokumentarne filmove, kako bi dokazali da nam to nešto, to nasledstvo kulturno pripada, pre svega, a dalje da normalno da ga širimo kao ideju nekog novog načina zaštite naše kulturne baštine, tako.
Film workers can help by making films inspired by true data, documentary films proving that culture heritage belongs to us, and then spread it as an idea that should be protected and safeguarded.
Jedno pitanje sad za vas, da li, ja se razumem, autorska prava i tu postoji veliki problem, evo sad spomenuli smo tu kao artificijalnu inteligenciju. Znači, prva artificijalna inteligencija se inspiriše milionima autora i bukvalno ih krade da bi napravili neko novo delo koje je 100% inspirisano sa nečim što već postoji, tako?
So I have a question for you. We were talking about copyright, and you mentioned the artificial intelligence, which is a real big problem because AI is inspired by millions of different creations. So what can we do?
Pitanje za vas je da li postoji metoda danas kojom mi štitimo našu kulturnu zaostavštinu koju hoćemo da zaštitimo. Da li pravno ona postoji? Pošto verujem da ranije nije postojala. To je, fenomen se pojavio u trenutku kada smo videli velike brendove koji jednostavno kopiraju šta im padne na pamet, jer imaju slobodu da to uradi, tako?
So the actual question is, if there is a method, a legal method, to protect our cultural heritage, as we've just seen, people get inspired by different things, by different elements, but is there a legal means to prevent that?
Of course, there are numerous treaties, international treaties. There are some laws in some countries, but here in Eastern Europe and in Europe, we don't have such, legal system. But what is very interesting, and I found through the research of Give Back Credit to the Heritage Communities, you mentioned the artificial intelligence. The Romanian blouse is called also IA, which is in Romanian is Inteligența Artificială. And I found the similarity between how this system propagates of cultural units of cultural heritage, subconscious, collective subconscious, and what we call today artificial intelligence. And the law that help this heritage to thrive and to evolve and to be alive was the customary law, which means the law of the land. Every community had a kind of this law.
Yeah.
So this law has to be with the ethnologist, with anthropologist. We have to bring back some rules of this law and apply to this new method of communication and to do this new method of legal system, because here we can go to the digital world where the innovation is not counted by years, it's counted by days now.
Yeah.
And what I've seen yesterday was very impressive. I've seen that Stapar rose, which is cultural heritage of Serbia, and somehow is protected. And the moment that it navigated to the print here, to the wall, photo wall, and then to the digital world, suddenly many people were aware about this element of cultural heritage and how we communicate in order to promote, to protect, or not to destroy. And I'm asking the digital experts of our panel.
Thank you. Is this working? Yeah? Good. Okay, so colleagues actually raised several interesting questions because, we're living in a highly digitalized world where obviously, being highly digitalized is a whole other can of worms, right? Because, on one hand, we're talking about the tradition and heritage and culture, and on the other hand, we have something completely like new and modern and like the futuristic, right? So how do we combine the two, and how can we use AI? How can we use social media? How can we utilize all that we have, which are amazing tools, to like solve these issues that we have? And there are several issues that we raised here. It's not, I don't think it's just like the fact that we have like how to preserve national heritage, it's how to promote it, how to appeal to younger audiences with it. I think that's also an important question, because those are the people that need to be like keeping it in the future, right? How to communicate with the brands, how to make sure that, how to define what cultural appropriation is, and like what is inspiration and what is stealing. And for example, my colleague, he raised the question of AI and like artificial intelligence. I mean, artificial intelligence is, if I were to compare it to something, is a very dumb kid. Eager to learn, but like dumb. Doesn't actually know what to do with the data. It just uses the data that you give it to him. And doesn't really know, like doesn't understand all these things that we're talking about. We don't understand them, let alone, poor AI. And I don't think that AI is the issue at this moment, because everybody's aware that like that particular artwork doesn't actually like belong to anybody. I think the bigger issue are actual people, like, people from Dior that are like, pretty much stealing somebody else's creations and heritage. And like, what can we do to fight it? And I think that social media is a very powerful tool today for that. because raising issues like that on social media is gonna reach the widest audience possible. You know, like literally, like if we saw brands doing that again, we can basically, you know, be bullies on social media to them and like make them understand, you know, the error of their ways. So I think using all the tools that we have under our belt in digital can actually be used for good cause. There is no reason why somebody can say like, I was not aware, I didn't know. There is internet, everybody has internet, everybody has a smartphone, right? Well, he was sitting on his toilet, he could have Googled an image and see if there's something else out there on the internet that matches it. If it matches it, okay, let's see what it is. So, you know, there is no reason whatsoever to not be informed about it. So utilizing social media and like mobilizing young people especially to like, you know, try and like first embrace their heritage and then like protect it, I think is gonna be very powerful. If that makes sense.
Yes, I've been through this, I know exactly. But my question is, okay, how we leverage this gap, because we have this social media content, generation of content,
Yeah.
and we have so many young people like activists, creators, influencers, but the end result is taken by the big brands. I mean, they are doing the research, and in 5 days they have a collection on the market. And through my experience, for example, our Give Back Credit campaign has helped those brands to get more awareness. Because it's not such a big thing like bad publicity, yes?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a huge, I think, dilemma in marketing and PR. Like, is there such a thing as bad PR, right? I personally believe there is such a thing as bad PR, especially in a world and today's, I think, sense of like this wokeness that, you know, might have also like a bad rep to itself. But like, I think especially younger generations have a strong sense of like what's wrong and what's right. And, you know, like, I think that, you know, if we mobilize enough people to like boycott the brand and, you know, like mobilize them on social media, it will affect them negatively. It does affect negatively celebrities.
Yes.
You know, it can affect negatively big brands if we use it, you know, correctly. And there are also issues that we need to like figure out between ourselves before we do that. Literally what the colleagues talked about, like what are we protecting, how are we protecting it, you know, how are we defining what is our national heritage. But once we have that figured out, we can say, okay, you did this, you took this, we're not going to stand for it. And, you know, like basically make the movement. So I actually do believe there is such a thing as bad PR if done right.
Thank you. So, Jack, from your point of view, not as only as an expert on IT and software, but also as a Scottish, yes? If I'm right.
Something
yes.
There, yeah.
Because we have a Scottish partner, the University for the Creative Arts, which has had a beautiful collection and creative residency on the Scottish tartan. How can you use the power of software to our own interests, let's say?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's a big topic. First of all, I think it's good to frame it, though, for me, in the sense that it should be embraced, absolutely. Like, for me, there's no question. Now, I'm obviously a bit more slanted that way, let's say, because of my profession, but just historically, every time you've had these kind of waves of technological innovation, you have companies or movements that go with it, and you have those that goes against it. And it's like you can really count on one hand probably the ones that have gone against it and succeeded. They're almost like the exceptions that prove the rule, right? If you look at like Blockbuster and Netflix, right? Blockbuster were fighting against that for all they want, and look at them now. So it's super, super important, I think, to embrace it, and it's just about the form of how we embrace it at the moment, right? So if we just take artificial intelligence for the first thing. We could talk about blockchain. I'm still into that. Not many people are, but I still am, actually. But if we just take AI at the beginning, it's much more than ChatGPT. AI, of course, most people know this, but you have other things like machine learning. And I was just doing some cursory research about how already you have, obviously, really, really powerful institutions, companies pouring huge amounts of money into research. And it would be a shame not to capitalize on that. You know, in a sector that isn't so awash with money like Silicon Valley, you have huge resources that can be harnessed. So, for instance, really interesting work being done on classification. because AI and machine learning, they can see patterns that we might not be able to see. They can classify it. They can then cross-reference that with sales to see what is most appealing to a particular market demographic in terms of pattern, in terms of actual design. That's something that we can't do. We've never been able to do because we can't analyze that data, and now we can. And that's obviously literally will translate into more sales for the art, and in the end, more revenue for the artisans. So I think it's a really, really powerful thing to do. And something that I'm really interested in personally, which you alluded to in my intro, it is about, because something is I've always kind of been struggling with as I've been doing the project itself, is really about the actual how do you get funds into the hands of people without it being kind of ripped apart by various financial institutions on the way. And that's why, for me, it's really interesting with crypto, say, because it is actually a solution where you could really easily pay people. Now, there's a whole learning piece in that, isn't there? But it's there. And I think that really, really important for everyone here is to embrace this kind of technology, not fight against it, not say, you know, kind of protectionism and things like this. It's really to work with it to kind of further our own interests.
Yes, I think the heritage communities, the traditional communities, are an example of innovation because they innovate from, step by step through their needs. They have so many needs and they started to innovate. And I think it's a beautiful discovery to find every element of cultural heritage and understand how they innovate in order to thrive. And I was just thinking about the blockchain. Have you ever thought about ethical communities to analyze the system of transmitting cultural heritage through the traditional communities with the blockchain, transmission, because it's kind of similar, in my opinion.
There's a lot there. And I think it's going to be an interesting piece of work when it does happen. As to my knowledge, it's not really gone anywhere thus far, but I think it's, very interesting.
So with all these tools, for example, we have experts on cultural heritage, on communication, on IT, but in the end of the day, we are attracted by a product, as our ancestors were. So what is very appealing is a beautiful dress, is a beautiful blouse that you need to have today. And when I'm talking about women, there is no rational in this choice. They need it in a second. So how we can create brands here, local brands with local creatives that can work with artisans in order to leverage this cultural heritage. Because I know that it is not easy in this global world of fast fashion and luxury brands to create such an end product. Because through this, in my opinion, through this development, we can actually bring on the table something. Or maybe we can wait for big brands to come to knock on our door. So here we are having the floor, you have the floor, the fashion business gentleman. Yes.
Give me a specific question, please, because...
How we can integrate the cultural heritage in creating, end products that are competitive on the international market?
I asked you before because my colleagues here started because some things are not specified, like heritage, like what does it mean? When does it start? So we have to be very specific on these matters in order to call it like this, and then come to your question how we are possible to bring it on the market. Market is always work with needs. So what happens is we have too many on our age, we have too many of easy-going, easy-to-make products that fooled actually the market. So we are in this kind of transition because just we had too much of this. And just because we are trying to go sustainable. we can't follow the same path anymore. So we need to go back in order to go forward. And this is in all matters, not only in every word that you express, we have to make it specific. And this is why I wanted to say that those gentlemen here were very exact on the problems that occurred. So anyway, the thing is that many artisans and very talented people make very interesting products in their house, in their workshop, everywhere. Of course, the difficult thing is to bring this, what you made, to the market. And this is what is the most actually difficult part for an artisan, is to make an income out of his art or her art. So, of course, you mentioned that we need government to take some new programs, to work on some new programs, to understand what is the needs of their own people. So people need to express themselves by art, and this will help the market industry also, because it will bring new products and new ideas. But in order to be sustainable, it has to have a specific path. You cannot talk about heritage and bring modern ideas. You cannot change something that it's traditional, because it's supported on, in order to be traditional, it has to have these values that will travel through the time. If there are no values, you cannot travel through time. So you can see that from every season of humanity, you have specific, let's say in our industry, you have specific patterns or that are ancient clearly. So nobody can claim that it's his or mine. Let's go back to my own country's history, where in Minoan time, they traveled to America, to Asia, and they traveled with their own goods. So the other people took this pattern, so they worked with them in an exchange with goods, like, let's say, program of the time. So it's not that somebody steals something from somebody. This belongs to everyone. So we didn't invent anything and give it. This comes out of people. So it doesn't matter from where you come from. These patterns, I think that they are there for everybody to work with them. If you need to be more specific and personalized, you cannot touch the heritage. You understand? You cannot touch the tradition. You can bring yourself in by changing some colors of some small things. And this is a difficult part, okay? To retrain this old story. You cannot bring your extremely new stuff, you know, and call it tradition. No, you have to work on a specific pattern. So you cannot go crazy with tradition. This has to be separated. Okay, and for me, this is a difficult part. If you can make it, there you are in the market. So it goes automatically, because people can understand what is your product. Okay, so it needs to be always updated to the season, because we live in the world with many things that plays a role in every part of our lives, even in our clothing or designs or everything. So in the time you can see many same patterns with some minimal changes that comes out of the politics of the time or of the difficulties that some region have in materials, in whatever there was, and played the role to make some small differences. But what we call tradition is what we had thousands of years ago until today, and we use it as it was. So the need from big companies was to work with that because they bring us too much of nothing. So they needed to change and follow our own roots again. And they did it just before us because we are not strong enough to compete with these industries, you know. So we have to work all of these questions to make a good answer, you know.
But I think our heritage is strong enough to compete with any industry. So this is exactly what you said, how to define heritage.
You cannot.
Yes.
You cannot say this is my, because you never thought of this, you know, it was there. It was there for everybody. So it's easy for me because I'm Greek and I have good history. What is good history? It's not everything mine. Everything belongs to everybody. Okay.
Yes, but it is protected by some communities. They were protecting their, you know, visual communication techniques, stories, and so on. Because without this protection, they will not be able to transmit the heritage.
I would love to hear how can you protect this? You can't. And I don't think that you have to.
Yes, please. Nenad.
You can, with law.
This is the only protection you can give.
So
Yes.
It's interesting how the people from the companies kind of think alike. So,
Yes.
The colleague really started with the right questions.
Yes.
Is how do you separate one country's heritage from another one? And what is the body that's going to say, okay, this is a part of the Serbian heritage, and what is the part of the Greek or whatever other nation it is in. So I think having that body, which I personally believe it's mission impossible to actually make it, to actually make that type of the really selective of what is one's nation or people, because it comes even with the regions. We know we have a Banat region that is very mixed Serbian and Romanian culture. We have some other region that is very mixed between Bulgarian and Serbian culture. For me, as a Serb, I would love to see Dior collection inspired by our own costume, where I would use it as a, let's say, a good PR for our country. So for me, that would be like the best what can happen. So this is the type of the thinking I would have in this sense. Nevertheless, we as a company, we are always using some kind of a country or a culture or a painter or what we are finding in our designs, but we pay a homage to it. And I think we are doing a good PR both for the country. For example, I brought here, last year was one part of our collection was inspired by the Serbian traditional costume. And then you can see how some of the Serbian traditional things can work in a modern twist, for example. So this is like this Pirot Chilin, for example, and this is done in our coat. Or something that you can see here on some cardigans and jackets, and I mean, you can check it out later. But I think that by going to, let's say we are going international from Moscow to New York to all the different trade shows, we are saying this is something inspired by our cultural heritage. We are promoting Serbia in that sense. A few years ago, we had Morocco, we were promoting Morocco. In the next winter season, we have Romania, as a matter of fact. So this is something that, and also, when we are dealing with the design process, it's never strict. What if a part of the blouse is partially inspired from Serbian and partially from Romanian and partially from Bulgarian? Who's going to claim and what? So I think it's also something that Slavomir was mentioning about more broader region, whether we are as a former Yugoslavia or as a Balkan Peninsula can do something about trying to promote something that is our common, let's say, heritage or whatever.
Yes, but we at the Give Back Credit to the heritage communities, we have kind of conclusions to our project, which is the creative residency method. Why I'm saying creative residency? Because they are especially in Eastern Europe, but also in UK, in Scotland. We have these communities which are, preserving some techniques, some heritage, which is still alive. I know there are not many, but they are still on our lands. And with these new goals of sustainability, learning from these communities how to make sustainable collection, how to make sustainable fashion, can help also not only on communicating our cultural identity, but preserving our planet. So I've paying a visit to IKEA lately, and what I've seen is that a lot of artisanal products are into the new collections. Most of them, of course, from Asia, because the labor force is much cheaper. But what we propose is that the industry, the fashion industry, the creative industries, to step back a little bit and invite those communities as co-creators. Co-creators, to give them a voice, to visit them, to spend time to them, because I think even the products in the end will be much better. So our proposal is not about even giving credit exactly. Our proposal is about education, because I think the only possible solution in our time is education. Cultural heritage education and creative residencies, working with artisans, working with museums, can create, for example, in Eastern Europe, an amazing new development in terms of brands, not only in fashion, but also in design. Because we need that relationship with ourselves in the end of the day. So what I'm thinking is like Italy years ago, from my knowledge, they were competing with French couturiers, and they split the country through their brands. So the north was more industrialization, in the north was kind of Armani side, the south was Dolce & Gabbana with the heritage of Sicily and so on. So this can be probably a solution in the future, where we can sit on the table and organize our heritage, make categories, use artificial intelligence in order that brands and artisans to create more and to bring on the market what is our identity. So I give you, for the final conclusions, the floor to each of one of you, and to propose a possible solution for this intricate problem that we are facing in our times. So, cultural heritage. One simple solution. That doesn't have to be very complicated.
Da, ovo je dosta kompleksno pitanje na koje mi možemo samo da probamo da damo neki odgovor, ali konačan odgovor, daleko smo od toga. Sve sam čula i mi smo ovde podigli nekoliko različitih pitanja. Šta je to kulturno nasleđe, šta je tradicija i šta je živo nasleđe. Ono što lokalne zajednice u našoj državi mogu da urade je da zaštite svoje nasleđe koje prepoznaju kao svoj neki identitet i na taj način da učestvuju u očuvanju nekog globalnog našeg identiteta. Pa tako...
This was a rather complex question. We can only try to give an answer, but we are far from an actual solution. Lots of questions raised at this round table. What is heritage? What's traditions? But let's say that local communities can try to protect their heritage, define and protect it, and then...
Intangible cultural heritage and the local communities. Mi kao muzeji i uopšte muzeji, ja znam i u regionu, rade sa lokalnim zajednicama na očuvanju. Ali postavlja se pitanje koliko mi treba da učestvujemo u svemu tome i da budemo režiseri ili da pustimo njih da oni same nešto iznedre i ono što njih karakteriše, odnosno njihovu lokalnu zajednicu. To je jedna stvar. Pitanje je kada nešto ne postoji više u narodu, on postaje etnografska crtica. Njega više nema. Znači, mi smo videli sad u katalogu, evo ja sam videla košulju koja je inspirisana srpskim košuljama ili nekim košuljama iz Skopske Crne Gore, Makedonije. To više nema. Znači, to ne postoji više u narodu, to je etnografska beleška, crtica, nasleđe, kulturno nasleđe koje je pohranjeno u muzejima. Čak i ono u čemu nastupa ansambl Kolo je scenski kostim koji je napravljen za potrebe izvođenja narodnih igara. To nije autentičan narodna nošnja koja je, evo, na primjer, ovde na našoj stalnoj postavci.
As museums, we can work with local communities and try to help them solve the problem. But should we do their work instead of them, or should we let them define and then protect what is their characteristics? What disappears becomes later just an item in a catalogue. It doesn't exist anymore within the people. It's just heritage in museums. For instance, we have dancing company Color, and while dancing, they're using just the scenic costumes. They're not using authentic wear. The authentic wear can be seen only in museums, and as she said, becomes just an item, just an element in the catalogue.
Of a cultural heritage.
Of a cultural heritage, of course.
Pitanje je uvek razgraničenja nečijeg nacionalnog identiteta i kulturnog identiteta. Ovde smo čuli o jednom divnom filmu koji se zove Čija je ovo pesma, to ću dodati, i nema zaključka. Zaključak je da je on nasleđe Balkana. Isto kao i staparsko ćilimarstvo. U pitanju je zaštita tehnike izrade, ne motiv. A taj motiv staparske ruže, kako je oni zovu, nalazimo u mnogim okolnim narodima. To je tako bilo na primjeru, i ja sam pokazala srpsko građansko kostim. Identičan je postoji u Grčkoj. I sad čiji? To je onako kako mi u našoj struci kažemo, orijentalno-balkanskog porekla, da bismo pomirili nekoliko stvari. Ali je važno u stvari rad sa lokalnim zajednicama i ovaj rad sa lokalnim zajednicama je jako dobro kanalisan kroz ovaj give back credit. I to bih ja kao kustos muzeja uvek volila da vidim da bilo koji, nevažno, fabrika, firma, pojedinac, nađe inspiraciju u kulturnom nasleđu. Materijalnom, nematerijalnom, ali da uvek give back credit tu. Jer na taj način mi učestvujemo u zaštiti nekih identiteta lokalnih i globalnih zajednica.
There's a difference between national and cultural identity. What my colleague has just mentioned, one great film, whose song is this? I like to add titles. But basically, there are no conclusions. The Balkans' heritage, just like we've mentioned Stapa carpentry, we see the motive in different people. Identical motives, for instance, can be seen also in Greece. And in order not to insult anyone, we say Oriental and Balkan origins. It is important to always give back credit. And this is why this project is ideal for that. Anyone who does anything, factories, individuals, they all should give back credit and in that way protect national and cultural identity.
Give back credit to the local communities that have pronašle, koje su iskazale svoj identitet kroz
that have expressed their identity through the intangible
culture heritage.
Bravo. Thank you.
Ja lično kao kustos se uvek radujem saradnji sa pojedincima ili pravnim licima, firmama i volim da vidim da naše kulturno nasleđe pohranjeno u muzejskim zbirkama dobije jednu novu konotaciju i jedan život, naravno uvek sa molbom da se osvrnu na ono što se čuva u muzeju, jer mi ovde ne čuvamo zbog sebe, nego zbog svih nas.
I personally, as a curator, always look forward to working with individuals and companies, and I try to give new life to these museum collections because we don't keep them for ourselves, we keep them for everyone.
Tako da, eto, to bi bilo ukratko samo početak velike problematike između nasleđa, nematerijalnog nasleđa, kreativnih industrija, svakako koje zavređuje našu pažnju i u budućnosti.
That would be just a beginning of this very important topic of cultural heritage, intangible cultural heritage, and of all other things that could bring actually people together. And,
yes, so you are open for creative residencies here in the museum, yes?
Always.
For designers? Okay.
Always.
Thank you very much for your answer and for your contribution. We go to Slavimir.
From the standpoint of communication, I think we need to first decide what we are going to communicate and then how and to whom. But, you know, it's very tricky, as we've seen here. The heritage belongs to everybody, actually, who lives there or even who lives in the world today. So it's our lives in that kind of creative part are going to be dictated by money, unfortunately, but that's how everything goes. On the other hand, we have great examples, like we saw this Ivko stuff here, and I've been a fan for years, for decades now, and it's really fantastic what they are doing, and they did what creatively I think should all the efforts go to. And this mixture of different influences, again, come as an absolutely new set of aesthetic standards that can be also exploited in the western, eastern, southern, northern, wherever you go. Once when it's creatively precise and when you know what you are communicating. But that's the biggest issue here that I see, is that we usually don't know what we are going to communicate. We mostly know that we disagree on most of the things with the world.
Thank you. But do you think that is possible, for example, for Eastern Europe, and I'm not saying for Western Europe because they are communicating very precise in terms of brands, of cultural identity, that we can create such a system here with our own heritage? I mean, to have, for example, the south of Italy is very recognizable in the works of Dolce & Gabbana, or, for example, IKEA has this Nordic design that was incorporated in their business. We in Eastern Europe, how we can create such a system?
I've been a part of one effort to promote local creative industries here, and I think it's very, very expensive in order to make it professional and done properly, not as a propaganda of the people in power, but as a real effort. It's very, very expensive in order to really reach something that I gave it the name Serbia Creates. The idea was to be called Creative Serbia, which is something we cannot claim, especially for the last 30 years. So that's why I gave it a future tense in order to, you know, let's start over and become creative as we are, with the purpose of making better life for everyone else, and more creative, more inspiring and everything. So those efforts are absolutely welcome, because if they are coming from the top of the social, pyramid, then that there is more, more likely they will develop into something serious. Right now we have local or individual efforts like Ivko or other brands that are doing stuff, but it's very hard to be, nationwide or Europe-wide or worldwide. It's very, very hard, of course. And most of them are waiting to be bought by somebody bigger, you know. So corporations are doing the job of countries now. That's the world we are living in.
Thank you. Anyway, we have high hopes because, as Jack says, there is blockchain, there are maybe new innovation and invention that are waiting to disrupt the system, because the system can always be disrupted. Mishko, what is your solution, if there is any solution?
I have solution.
Oh, good.
Yeah. First of all, okay, maybe on Serbian it's been easily for me. Ja mislim da je to moguće rešiti samo na svetskom nivou. Znači ovako, da determinišemo šta je naš zaostavština, ili tako kulturna eritaž, što bi rekli, od kog datuma, od kada, da se podeli po regionima i da se uradi ovako. Kogod želi da koristi bilo šta od tog našeg nasleđa, mora da plati nešto na jednom mestu, je li tako? Znači na svetskom nivou, kao što... I da se taj novac posle deli po regionima. Ne znam, razumete, ali to mora da se reši onda na svetskom nivou. To je jedino... Okay.
This is possible to do only at the world level. So first of all, it should be defined what's heritage. It should be well defined by regions. So whoever wants to use whatever must pay something in a centralized place, and that centralized place would after that allocate the money to whomever should the money go.
That's how it's work in France. You know, if you sold something like, I don't know, support DVD, you pay some part for some X author. He after took this money to create something, you know, new.
It's like royalties.
This system is maybe can apply on this kind of suspect, you know, but it's very difficult to know what is exactly heritage we have. And
yes,
everything.
So from what I understand...
It's like some, you pay something
yes.
for, and after some commission decide what is the kind of country and region he took the most part of this sort of. No.
Yes. But what I found very valuable from your proposal is the need of the creative industries, of creatives in general, of a better presentation of our cultural heritage.
What I think that people need to pay something if inspired
to give something
you know,
back.
Yeah, to give something back. You know, because today the big society don't pay anything for
nothing.
Nothing. You know, this is make some
yes.
you know balance with this.
But for this we need databases.
I understand that it's very
yes.
complicated to apply.
It's not only complicated, but I think the first need is to have a map of what is cultural heritage. And this is the problem that I see in terms of the state contribution. Because the field of cultural heritage has left alone in the last 30 years, in my opinion. And now, because, you know, we have all this information on the internet, in the artificial intelligence age, all this heritage was brought to the surface, and is a kind of, you know, natural response in front of the globalization. We need to define ourselves somehow and somewhat. And those databases will be very helpful, and I think they can be built also with, you know, passionate people about their heritage in the end of the day. So it can be a solution, but it's difficult, as I heard in the audience, because the corruption can destroy all this Jack says is really difficult to manage. What is those central institution that manage the money?
Some foundation, maybe,
Yes.
something like this.
Yes. we have to develop more on this subject, but thank you very much. And we go forward to the digital side. So, Adelka, what is your solution?
Okay. Well, I don't think the solution is that easy, but on the other hand, I think we should embrace the fact that the digital world is by default decentralized. Internet is decentralized, and while we're waiting on our respective governments and countries to figure it out, we can do something ourselves. Thank you. And that's where the power of social media, that's where the power of the internet is going to be extremely useful. So, by including the artisans, by giving them a voice, by giving the voice to the communities, by helping them, promote their work to be more recognizable, that's what's going to help while we figure, things on a more higher scale. So yeah, that's pretty much my takeaway.
Yes, I totally agree, because from our experience, we managed to inspire more than 60 communities in the last 3 years to document their own heritage.
Wonderful.
With no funds. Just we inspire people to reclaim their own heritage.
And you mentioned something very interesting, maybe people being able to document it themselves, creating some sort of a Wikipedia for this.
Exactly. Yes.
And I think that obviously it's going to come with its own challenges. Any type of website that's being actually created by people, it has to have moderators, right? At the end of the day, but still, I think it would be very valuable, to be able to just go through everything in one place, to look at all these amazing things that people around the world are creating. I think it would be so inspiring to use, and all those visuals would be so easy to promote further on social media and all the other platforms. So I really love that idea. I think it would actually make sense. And also it would be something that would be shareable and has viral potential. So again, it could be done without, with some limited funds. I wouldn't probably say without, but because, at least you are the resource, right? Your time costs something. So I guess,
of course.
at the end of the day, it can be for free, but at least without a budget for advertising or something.
We started to prove the concept. Not
Exactly.
that we don't need funds, but we prove the concept that is viable on the cultural heritage market.
I think that there is a market for it. I think that people are becoming more, I noticed that with a lot of my clients in the digital world that, people are, I'm in the digital world and I have to be, promoter of it. I live off of it, right? But people are getting increasingly tired of it. And this whole movement of things being people going to the country, doing some sort of digital detoxes and going back to their roots. I think this and it also can be seen in fashion. I think that this is the perfect time to start promoting go back to your roots, accept, embrace your own heritage or other cultures, learn something about it. It was never easier to do it than today, on the internet when everything is available. So yeah, I think that, embracing digital and social media instead of being afraid of it is going to be helpful in the solution.
Thank you. So we are going to the post-digital world, yes?
I think that it's actually very funny because, we've never been more digitalized, but there is this huge movement of people trying to actually, and I think that's where the artisans come along. I think that people are starting to value things made with hand, opposed to what we just talked about, sustainability and big brands. People are starting to actually realize how valuable this is, something like this, and how much work and effort goes into this. And if they could actually appreciate it as well as they're this is part of my heritage, I think that, it's going to be very helpful and they want to be part of the movement in some way or another, at least share a post. So I think, I think we're actually, it's going to be okay.
We are optimistic.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Jack, what is about your solution? There are any softwares, there are any platforms that we can use?
Well, I think there is one practical step, easy step that could be taken would be to make one platform which is regulated by curators. It's not some like free-for-all, because we can see what happens when we have that, like Etsy, you could say, is probably like a close enough thing to that, but when you have these unregulated environments, just end up basically with loads of rubbish on it and expensive and taking fees, things like this. It needs to be a curated platform, possibly, I'd say run for profit, absolutely, got nothing against that, yeah. But with people very much involved in the community, very passionate about it, which is aiming that I'd like to see a point where if someone in LA wants to buy something made in Tajikistan, that's possible to do. It should be possible to do that. And that is really, really hard at the moment because of tax tariffs, of shipping, logistics, everything like that. It's not that hard a problem to solve in the 21st century. And it'd be such a huge, huge thing to create one platform where you're linking up those two parties. It can be definitely profitable. It's not a charity. I don't think it should be run as a charity, or to be honest, I wouldn't have any involvement of any foundation or anything like this. I would literally run it in an efficient model like it's been proven time and time again, promoted on social media, all the rest of it, but just really run from the heart. And I think it could be tremendously successful and not at all hard to do, quite honestly. We're not even talking about big amounts of like investment here. So that's how I would say would be an amazing first step here to kind of get going.
That's brilliant. I can't wait for that moment because it's one of my personal dreams too, to be able to travel through the world with this kind of platform. Because I think the design products, fashion, in interior design, architecture, they are the most valuable, resources and manifestation of a culture. So before going to, for example, to Georgia, I would like to buy something from Georgia, to travel with my mind and with that product, and not to go to Zara and buy something which is inspired by Georgia. And I think as much as we open the space for all the people in the world to be creative, we're going to have a better place on this planet. Because the right to be creative has to be, a fundamental human right. In my point of view, in some part of the world, people are only labor, they are used only for labor and not only for their creativity. So this kind of platform will open also a new era for creativity.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. We're going to the fashion business. So Nikos, what is your solution? You already have one. Because you are actually working with artisans and communities.
I cannot be clear again, because it depends again on the needs of the market. So if we all decide to go green in this market, we will eventually go to the workshop design, which will have to make as many as more workshops for everything, not just for the fashion industry, for everything. And then local businesses and family, mostly businesses, will occur, and that will be the difference between making good stuff or making garbage and fill the market with unnecessary stuff. So unless we take this decision, there is no such a thing as a resolution for our, because we cannot compete ever the big companies, okay? So it will either go like this: designers will work for Zara, all designers will work for Zara, or every Zara will have to go out of market just because he's not efficient and modern anymore, because the needs will be different. I think it's already different. So this is about, we have to take the decision, what we need for tomorrow. We need green solution and sustainability. We have to help workshops to come in the market, and personal artisans and that kind of businesses. And of course, like your business, who has to stay in this culture, you know. You don't have to go very modern. You have to always follow the people's needs, which has to be in their own path, like heritage, because you said it's nice to bring something to your friends from your place and make the difference, bring something different. We should give power to these things and not only how to help big corporations. So this is politics again, and decisions which can't be made by us. All in person here, we made our own decisions and we follow the road. Now, it's time for governments to take this decision, because if they do, they will take our own way. It is only one way you can do it. So it's not that difficult. It's a matter of decision. The only way to go green is with small workshops and small companies, not mega corporations that do unnecessary stuff.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. We go green, of course. Nenad, you're the most experienced in this field.
Well,
and you have already established funds, so...
It's really difficult when we are, as we are all coming from the real life. First of all, there is something that the market needs. And now we're talking about what we are selling, and we are selling, our company is selling women's apparel, of course. Yes. And it's something that nobody needs, because everybody has tons of things in their wardrobes, you know. So it's a matter of something that we are selling, something that nobody needs, basically. And then on top of it, you try to distinguish yourself, of course, from these gigantic companies, because you have to separate. You can't be competitive if we are talking about the costs of labor. You can't be competitive if you're talking about economy of scale. Of course, we are coming from a really small country. On top of everything, we are not even part of a common European Union, because Serbia is running on their own. So this is all the difficulties that we are having ahead of us. We are now getting this, people are more and more into this going sustainable production, reduce the carbon footprint. Okay, in our company, I think, did it 95%. We reduced our carbon footprint completely. Like, we produce everything from the green energy. Now we have our own solar power. We have every single packaging. Nothing is anymore plastic. We have biodegradable, everything. All these paper things are from the FSC standards. This all costs money. And the problem is if the end consumer is ready to pay the premium price. And this is now the game of money, because we have to pay the workers, we have to pay our own usual costs, and then it becomes real problems and the challenges that we are facing on our daily businesses. It's really nice to say, yes, we are green, yeah, super great. Wow, you are so expensive. This is the most frequent thing I get from my customers in the shop. They don't understand what is inside of that one product. Really, they don't understand. So it is the power then of the media. You have to educate the people. You have to educate what did you build inside, what was all the resources that you put inside. And on top of everything, now we're going to add on the cultural heritage, which me personally would love to have something to give credit. Personally, I would really support that type. I see tons of challenges, how you actually measure it, how you quantify it, how you do that. But personally, I would love to have that as a component as well.
Thank you very much. So actually, we have the final conclusion: education. Education in every field. We are kind of a small university here on the table. Because I'm pretty sure there are more and more, students, and not only we are in the era of business education. As you can see, there are tons of trainings and master classes online. People are ready to pay to have such insights as you had today. So I really thank you very much. Your contribution is really great, and we're going to summarize it into a document and propose it as possible solution to our project, to our states, to the European Union, and also to the international forums, because we need to have a network of people and companies who are thinking the same, and that's why I will invite you to read our Charter for Cultural and Sustainable Fashion, if you have time, of course, because we have, I believe we have a proposal that can change the game, introducing the cultural residencies, creative residencies in the creative education. And through that kind of training and support, probably the next generation of designers will be more aware, of course, the next generation of consumers. In the end, but not at last, I would like to thank very much to our magical organizer, Gordana Grubšežić, our sister Goga. Because, yes, please come here. Come here. Goga, please come here, because her product called Etnology Fest is a proof of concept. Actually, through Etnology Fest, we've been able to implement this project and to promote to a larger audience in the world. So it works. And what I've seen last night, the collection, 2 nights ago, collection of the University of Contemporary Arts, I really have high hopes for Serbian creativity. And thank you very much for doing such an amazing job.
Compliments to everyone. I enjoy so much in this panel. And from my side, as advice, I just believe in power of digital marketing. They can spread all our activities, and each of us already we are doing on personal level everything, and just we need to promote and to come to the audience and to people, and in the end we come to artisans, because all about is to support them.
Yes, thank you very much. And yeah, yes, we should create a network, I guess. And I would like to thank also to the program Creative Europe of the European Union for supporting our project, and to the Ministry of Culture of Serbia for supporting the festival, and also give back credit to the heritage communities. Thank you very much, and see you soon. I will invite you in Romania to the last exhibition and conference of the project, and hopefully we can change the world with give back credit to the heritage communities.
Thank you to Ethnographic Museum to being such a beautiful venue for our mission.
Thank you.